Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll look at why childhood vaccination rates in Arizona and across the country are falling. Also tonight, the latest on efforts to sell off millions of acres of federal lands and concerns over changes that limit the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Former Maricopa County Assessor Paul Peterson is back in Arizona, where he's serving a prison sentence for felonies involved in the operation of an illegal adoption ring. That's according to the Arizona Republic, which reports that Peterson has completed his federal prison sentence and will now finish out his sentence for Arizona convictions related to human smuggling and Medicare fraud. Prior to his convictions, Peterson was elected twice as Maricopa County Assessor. A couple of candidate announcements of note. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser announced today that he's running again for Congress in Arizona's 4th Congressional District. Jasser lost the CD4 Republican primary to Kelly Cooper in 2024. Democratic Congressman Greg Stanton is the incumbent in that district. And former Democratic State Representative Eric Descheny is running for Arizona's 2nd Congressional District. That seat is now held by Republican Eli Crane. Descheny will challenge former Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez in the Democratic primary. Nez lost to Crane in the 2024 general election. National news, another day, another tariff headline. This one involves President Trump today saying that he will, quote, substantially increase tariffs on India, which already faces tariffs of 25%. President's threat with claim is that India is reselling cheap Russian oil on the open market. Now, Indian officials call the threat, quote, unjustified and unreasonable, and say that they will continue buying Russian crude. No word is yet on who President Trump will name as the new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The president fired the head of the agency last week after claiming, without evidence, that the top official, quote, rigged a jobs report that showed a significant slowdown in hiring. And one more headline. A giant panda at Washington's Smithsonian National Zoo enjoyed some birthday cake today. The panda's name is Bao Li, and he turned 4 years old today. Bao Li arrived from China in October along with a potential future mate who answers to Qing Bao. Of note, that cake is full of panda-friendly fruits and other ingredients, much to Bao Li's apparent satisfaction. The CDC recently released a report showing that vaccine rates for kindergartners continue to fall. This says the proportion of children exempted from vaccinations is at an all-time high. Joining us now is Will Humble, Executive Director of the Arizona Public Health Association. Will, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, CDC says are you surprised that these rates are falling?
No, this is the trend that's been happening for the last 15 years. I mean, in Arizona, we've lost about 0.5% every year for the last 12 years. And the new report that just came out, same thing. We lost 0.5%. So we're down to 88.6% for the MMR vaccine, which is the one we look at first because it's the most contagious childhood illness, and you have to have really high vaccination rates to keep that from spreading.
So why is this happening? Why has it happened? Why does it continue to happen?
So this is in the category of a long-term problem. This isn't something that just started happening in the last 2 or 3 years, or even after the pandemic. I mean, it's gotten a little worse after the pandemic, but it started with parent groups questioning vaccines on Facebook and sharing things on social media, and it started gathering more and more momentum. And I think that trend continues and has been just pretty insidious. And there's another thing, which is the generation of people who experienced these diseases real time are fading away. And the parents of today were born, in 1990 when there were measles. What's that? So, that scared factor that my mom's generation had is not present with this new generation, and they see, well, there's no illnesses around. Why should I get the vaccine? But the reason there's no illnesses is because we've been vaccinating for decades.
Did COVID make a difference here? But this started before COVID, right?
No, yes. That's like I said. It's gotten a little bit worse, but this was happening back when I was the state health director 10 years ago. We were losing 0.5% a year. And so there's something, it's not just the pandemic. There's a longer term issue that's happening. And by the way, it's not access. It's not like people aren't able to get the vaccine.
Well, and that's what I'm going to ask here. Exemptions, they're at an all-time high. I know they play a factor all around the country. How much of a factor do they play in Arizona?
Well, it's a huge factor, and I think that's a big reason why we're 40th out of 51. They count DC as a state. So we're near the bottom, and one of the reasons is because in Arizona we have a personal exemption, so that when your kid shows up at kindergarten and they're unvaccinated, the admin person said, well, just sign this exemption form and we'll just get your kid enrolled. That's not the case in every state. So, for example, in Mississippi, Mississippi seldom has better public health outcomes than other states, but they're with Connecticut tied for the best vaccination rates. Why? Because they have a law in place that says they only have medical exemptions. So you can't just sign a form and say, I don't want to vaccinate my kid to go to public school, or school generally, even private schools. So the states that have a school requirement are at the top of the list, doing the best, and the states that don't are at the bottom, and we're one of those.
And Mississippi is number. I find that difficult.
How
to
often
believe.
do you see Mississippi and Connecticut
as number one for health? But what was also interesting, Minnesota,
right?
not good.
Right. Minnesota is even worse than Arizona, and Minnesota they invest a lot more in public health than we do here in Arizona, and yet they're worse than us. And it's not access to vaccines; it's because, in part, they don't have a school requirement.
So what does this mean as far as the percentage that's needed for herd immunity? Where are we? Let's stick to Arizona on this.
So it depends on what part of Arizona you're talking about.
Interesting.
So if you're talking about like Nogales and Santa Cruz County, good to go. They're above 95% for the MMR vaccine. Measles is the most contagious one. That's why we track that the most. Pima County is doing good. Tucson has pretty good vaccination rates. If you look at Yavapai County and Mojave County, they're way below. They're like at the 70% level, similar to what in Texas, the huge outbreak, 1,300 people infected now in Texas. Those two counties have rates similar to that part of West Texas. So that's just a flame ready to ignite.
And what number again are we looking for herd immunity?
95%.
95?
Right.
And we're seeing 70 in Yavapai?
Yeah, some of those counties. But like I said, other parts of the state are doing really well. Maricopa's sort of in the middle.
Right. Probably pockets of Maricopa County, just like in other areas.
Right. And I don't know how long this segment is.
Go on, just keep going.
But there's also a thing where you see public school kids have pretty good vaccination rates. Charter school kids and the private school kids have much lower vaccination rates.
Wow.
So that's like within the same geographic area.
I get it. How is the data collected, and is the collection process the same with this administration? Because we know that if you have a bad jobs report, you're out of here. If you have a bad, I don't know, do you want a bad immunization report? I don't even know what's good anymore as far as health and this administration.
Yeah. So the way nothing's changed. So the answer to the question is nothing has changed. States report that data to CDC, and then they compile it. Usually CDC will put out a big, what's called morbidity mortality weekly report, and summarize the data and do a write-up and do an analysis. They didn't do that this time. They put up a spreadsheet, which I found.
Yeah.
I wrote my blog post, but they're not advertising vaccines these days. But,
all right.
I don't think they're cooking the books.
Okay, good to hear. I don't know if it's good to hear or not, whether the job is safe or not, if it's a low or high vaccination rate. With that in mind, the CDC also has a new director. What do we know about this new director?
Yeah, so I personally didn't know her, but I called some of my contacts from the public health world, and her name's Susan Monarose, and she took a lot of heat in her confirmation hearing from some people because she's not an MD, she's a PhD. I don't care about that. I was more interested in learning about her commitment to evidence-based decision-making and evidence-based public health policy, and there she seems like she's in pretty good shape. In other words, she's a longtime public health person who's well respected. Now, I can't say today whether she'll be a good CDC director, but the ingredients are there, I think, for her to be as good, I think, as I would have ever been able to expect from Mr. Kennedy.
With that in mind, is her only positive that she's not a negative?
Well, no, I mean, she actually has an academic
Okay,
credentials.
all right.
And,
But when you
so,
say it's more than you expected from...
well, I just expected, like, maybe it could have been somebody who really didn't care about
Yeah.
public health at all. She's got all the the credentials are there. But I mean, you have to give some time to see whether she makes good decisions or not.
Yeah, there's some optimism there.
Yes.
All right. Will Hummel, Arizona Public Health Association, former state health director, and a friend of the show. Good to see you again.
Thanks. Take care.
In this episode, Sharon Stone and Chrissy Teigen uncover their roots.
Oh my goodness.
What's it like to see that?
I love it.
Well, if you want to see someone whose mind is completely blown, here it is.
I have not seen this photo before. Wow. I wonder if my mom even knows that.
It's so important to know who your people are.
Turn the page. You know what that is?
Tuesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
An American experience. It was a fight to the finish.
The plan was to turn every Japanese soldier and every civilian into kamikaze.
Hear the untold stories of the last months of the war and find out how close we came to an even more catastrophic conclusion.
We considered ourselves dead men.
Victory in the Pacific, an American experience.
Tuesday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
A controversial mandate to sell off millions of acres of federal lands was removed from the reconciliation budget bill, though its supporters are pushing to keep it alive. And for more on this, we welcome Sandy Barr, director of the Sierra Club Grand Canyon chapter. Sandy, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, nice to be here.
So this proposed sell-off of millions of acres of federal lands actually made it into the reconciliation bill, correct?
It did. That's right. It was in there, and then there was a lot of pushback from throughout the country from average people, but also some bipartisan pushback. There were some Republican senators, including the Idaho senators, who said, you know, we don't like this. Public lands are important to us. And so they ended up removing it, but Senator Lee has said he'll be back.
This is Senator Mike Lee of Utah. This was his idea, selling, what, 2 to 3 million acres over 5 years, I think was the actual idea in the bill. How would this impact Arizona?
Well, we had 14 million acres in Arizona that were eligible for the sell-off. And when you looked at those lands, you're like, why? I mean, they tried to make this housing argument, but these were not lands with infrastructure or any kind of, I mean, other than for maybe a rich person's hideaway, they really weren't appropriate for housing.
What made them eligible?
They had a number of criteria. At first, they said lands that had like grazing or other permitted activity wouldn't be eligible, but they had arbitrary information about how close they were to developed areas, you know, communities, and that it was really like kind of
sounds amorphous to me. I mean,
yeah, and it was very broad. It was very broad. So, like lands that were part of the Tonto National Forest along the Salt River were included. Places like Sabino Canyon, down by Tucson, were included, and it really made no sense at all.
The bill, again, the mandate was that it would be used for housing, and only, did they say what kind of housing? The idea is affordable housing. Was affordable housing mentioned?
No, it was not. There was no affordable housing mandate, so these lands could have been sold off to wealthy people to build some hideaway. And again, there are ways right now to transfer public lands, you know, through Public Purposes Act, that if there's a public purpose, those lands can be transferred to like a county or a city. But right now, but under this, they would have said you can sell them.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, Senator Lee will be back, but they are also doing a lot of things to open up those lands for privatizing them in a lot of ways for oil and gas and other activities that right now certain lands are protected from that, and they're trying to open up a lot more of those lands. They're getting rid of roadless protection for certain lands that would open them up for, timber, for other mineral development, those types of things.
Senator Lee, I think, also said that that would not include national parks, national monuments, national wilderness areas, and these sorts of things. Does that make a difference at all?
Well, it's good they weren't included, but no, because there are a lot of really important, in Arizona, we have about 30 million acres of public lands. And we love our public lands, and they are so important to our economy. They're important to providing us with clean air and clean water, with recreation, culturally, and they didn't pay attention to any of that.
Well, that would be my next question, because I know that the bill also mandated that the federal officials would have to consult with state and local officials on the land that they have their eyes on. Are you saying consult means ignore?
Well, it can sometimes. And also, there are certain state officials that would love nothing better than to see more public lands sold off. We had bills at the Arizona legislature this session to promote that as well. Senator Mark Finchem, pretty much every year, has some kind of bill to get rid of public lands. We've seen Representative Gail Griffin with those bills. They think there's too much public land. That's not what the public thinks. There's bipartisan support for protecting public lands.
Here's a quote from Senator Mike Lee. Washington has proven time and again it cannot manage this land. This bill puts it in better hands. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's nonsense. First of all, there are lands that are not managed as well as they should be. But here's the other thing that they're doing, and this is not just now, but it's happened before. They defund the Bureau of Land Management or the Forest Service, and then they complain that they don't do things. They fire people, so there aren't enough people to do the work, and then they complain that the work isn't getting done. And I think that's pretty unfair, and I would disagree. Privatizing public lands is not the answer. These are lands that belong to all of us, and for them to sell them off to the highest bidder for someone's private development, that's just wrong.
So Senator Lee has vowed to bring this back in some way, shape, or form. Is there any way that he does bring this back that would be, in your opinion, in your mind, less of a problem than what we saw with this go-round?
I can't imagine that he would come up with something. At one point he talked about narrowing it to Bureau of Land Management lands, but still, that, having something that broad and doing it without actually knowing what's there, that's part of the problem. They included lands without really knowing what's there, what's of value. And why not use the current process that we have for transferring those lands if there's a public purpose? What they don't like about the current law is there has to be a public purpose.
Right. Right. All right, Sandy Bar, Sierra Club, Grand Canyon chapter. Again, it's selling off federal lands. Didn't make it in this bill. We'll see how it goes here in the future. Good to have you here.
Thanks.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, Texas Democrats attempt to block a Trump-backed redistricting plan by leaving the state. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
The Environmental Protection Agency will rescind the long-standing finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health. The move sets off what is described as one of the largest deregulatory actions in U.S. history. Joanna Struther is with the American Lung Association in Arizona, and she joins us now. Thank you for being here. Nice to see you again. This endangerment finding that EPA, has it rescinded or plans to rescind?
Plans to rescind. So it will go through a process. There will be a public comment period where we're hoping that people chime in that saying, you know, public health is really important. This rule is really important. It's been around for over 15 years. There's lots of science and the law to back greenhouse gases do cause harm to our health, and so we're hoping that to stop the rollback.
So again, this dates back to 2009 and President Obama, correct?
Yes, in 2009.
And it's an endangerment finding. So this, why is this such a big deal? Is this law? Is it
Sure.
policy?
So the science says there was science done, studies done showing that greenhouse gas emissions do harm our health, that climate change is playing a role, making it worse, making greenhouse gas emissions worse, and that's the threat to our health.
And that was basically the basis for subsequent regulations from the EPA.
Yes.
For all regulations, really, from the EPA.
There's been a lot of rollbacks currently that the EPA has done or looking at doing that really threaten our health here in Arizona. We know that our air pollution is a big problem here in Arizona. In fact, I was just on the show talking about our State of the Air report that shows Arizona ranks 4th worst for ozone pollution. So these rollbacks will really threaten our health here.
So I'm seeing what repealing greenhouse gas emissions for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks and engines. That's already in the process. That's already being planned.
That's already being planned. And we know that the transportation sector is one of the most polluting sectors. In fact, it is the most polluting sector here in Arizona. We also did a report called Zeroing In on Healthy Air that shows if we actually transition to zero-emission vehicles, we could save about $15.1 billion in public health benefits. So there's benefits to doing this stuff. Unfortunately, there are threats to weaken it.
And then again, though, the EPA is casting doubt on the scientific findings behind the endangerment report, saying this is the quote from the EPA, your new EPA, a significant doubt on reliability of findings. Do they have a point there?
No, you know what? We have decades of research that has shown greenhouse gas emissions harm our health, our air pollution, ozone, particulate matter harm health. Particulate matter actually even causes lung cancer. We know that there's decades of science that says this. And we've known that for many, many years.
So the EPA basically has the authority to regulate under the Clean Air Act.
Yes, as they should, and they should be protecting our health. That is what the EPA is for. They're there to be put in place to protect public health.
But that authority is contingent on this finding, and if this finding is rescinded, start from scratch?
Yeah, we're going to be in a lot of trouble here in Arizona. We already are. We already haven't tackled our air pollution burdens. We are going to see people get more sick. We're going to see more children with asthma, more visits to the ER because we're not tackling the problem.
Things like COPD, I mean, all those things.
Yep, exacerbate COPD, cardiovascular disease, and again, can lead to lung cancer and even premature death.
And general health, not just lung disease, but general health impacted?
General health impacted, people with diabetes, absolutely, a wide range of health impacts.
The EPA chief, I want to get your comment on this one because I found this interesting. EPA chief says that no one notes the need for carbon dioxide.
There's been a lot of need. There's been a lot of noted. I know advocacy groups like ourselves at the American Lung Association, many other have been talking about how this is harmful to our health. There's, again, lots of science out there.
But they're saying is we need carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, in fact, does affect our health, and there really isn't a need. There's a need to clean up.
Okay, so when they say it's important to have carbon dioxide for the health of the planet, you say no.
We say no. We say that we need to do a better job at cleaning up, and we need to tackle those problems, like those greenhouse gas emissions.
And I know the association president, national president, CEO, this is a quote, the Lung Association will use every tool at our disposal to defend the right to clean air and a safe climate. What tools? What are you ready to do?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue talking to our lawmakers here in the state, our local lawmakers, that we need to do more here in Arizona. We need to tackle our transportation problem that we hear. We need to build infrastructure infrastructure to support those zero-emission vehicles. We need to transition to wind and solar. We have sunlight here mostly all year round, which helps to create the air pollution, but can also help on the wind and solar side. So we need to start using tools and our resources here in the state so that we can breathe easier.
Okay, but using tools and resources here in the state when you've got federal policy that there's no authority there, I mean, how do you mix and match?
We keep echoing our message. Again, as an advocacy group, that will be our job. We've been doing this for over 120 years. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep talking about how we need to protect people.
When I got you here, I would be remiss not to ask, the air in Arizona, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Are we in a holding pattern? What are you seeing?
Sure. So our State of the Air report shows that since the Clean Air Act, we have seen improvements in air quality. Those specific pieces of laws and regulations protect our health, and they work when they're put in place. Over the past couple of years, and in this last report, we did see ozone is getting worse. So climate change is a big issue, and it is making our air pollution burdens worse and making it harder for us to clean up. So we're seeing trends that are up and down, but definitely this year we saw worse on our ozone levels.
Yeah, Joanna Strother, American Lung Association, good to have you here. Important information. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate it. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.